have a pretty cool video talking about what it's like when both parents are working. 2 full-time parents.
Yeah.
Working.
Yes. So my wife, Dana, and I got to sit down with our campus pastor from Livermore, Steve Ingold, and his wife, Amanda, who they both work full-time as well. And we had a really good discussion about how we don't always get it right. In fact, we don't get it right most of the time, but how it is a journey. And so I think you're really going to enjoy it. Check it out. All right. Thanks so much for tuning in. I'm here with Steve and Amanda Ingold, and this is my wife, Dana. And I'm excited to talk today about this whole idea of balancing the idea of working full-time when you both do it. So I want to actually start there, and I want to throw out there to you guys. So you guys both actually tell us, we know what you do, I think.
I don't know what I do.
But tell us what you do full-time.
I work at Las Positas College as the program coordinator and homeless and foster youth liaison. So
Big time.
busy.
That's all.
Very
Yeah,
big. That's all.
That's it.
And then tell us what you do.
I also work here at Cornerstone, but I work with our adult community groups and gatherings.
So everyone works full-time. Everyone's busy.
What do you do?
Yeah, I just lead our kids' teams. That's all. Just that.
Cool.
Hey,
good job, man.
Good job. So, guys, the question of balance comes up a lot as we talk to parents. What do you guys think about the idea of balance when it comes to work and family balance? Is that a thing? How do we achieve that? How do you guys strive for that? I don't know.
Do you have thoughts that you want to lead with?
I don't think balance. I think survival is maybe
A better word.
At the end of the day, I go, okay, I think I fed all of us.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
He knows I love him. He knows I love him. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to balance anything, really.
Yeah, I personally hate that word. I've never liked it. I think because for me, I'm an achiever. I have goals. I like to check things off lists, and so I hear the word balance, and before I had kids, I could check off lists, and like it was an attainable thing to do. But as soon as 1, and then for us 2, and then 3 came in, I lost control of that.
Right.
And so for me, and we've actually talked about this, balance, I don't want to use that word in our house. I've liked the word rhythm, because in all honesty, there's some days where I have to give more to work than I do my family. But then there's other days where a kid or all 3 or you or me need my full attention. So I like to think it's just a rhythm going back and forth, and every day is different.
Well, and I think the important part is communication through the rhythm.
Yes,
Right?
absolutely.
Like, there's a rhythm, but if I don't tell you what's next, next week is this, that's going to affect our rhythm. Like, then that's when I think the biggest issue. So, like, you talked about, like, I love you. And then, like, there's communication that
Most of the time.
Most of the time. There's a rhythm that has to be communicated about. And I think that's key, because if you're not talking, you have no chance.
Yeah.
Right.
I would also say, I think the quest for balance is not only difficult, like you talked about survival, and you don't even like that word. I think the quest for balance is a great way to move toward mediocrity. Because if you're balanced, you're going to be okay at a bunch of things.
Yeah.
But if you focus really hard on 1 or 2 things, like with family, like if I focus on, I know I have this intentional time with Jericho. I know I'm not going to try and like spend, like you talked about, equal parts, because that's balance, right? Equal across the board.
Yeah.
No, I can't do equal across the board, because I'm going to be very ineffective, or I'm just going to be okay
At all
in
of it.
all of this stuff. So I'm going to focus on 2 or 3 things and be really, really good at those things.
How do you pick what those things are?
So there's things that I know that if I do them, I'm healthy and my family's healthy.
Okay.
If I do those things, my team is healthy and what I'm leading is healthy.
Okay.
And there's a lot of things that I say no to because of that. Like within work or within even family stuff, like there's a lot of really good things, and I know we want to talk about this later. There's a lot of really good things that we could say yes to as a family. That like people who want to go to dinner with us or whatever.
Yeah.
And so often we're just like, no, sorry.
Yeah.
Because we're protecting this and because we're protecting this, and because I want to be great at this, I got to say no to that other stuff. And I do that at work all the time too.
So question, when you say no, because knowing you well enough, you also agreed with like, there's things you say no to.
Yeah.
She says no to everything.
Okay, well, I was going to ask, like, how do you get on the same page with what you say no to? Because I bet there's times when you think you shouldn't say no to something, and you would say, no, we're saying no to that, and times when that's flip-flopped. So how do you get on the same page with...
I think that's a part you talk about is like communication. Because there are times where there's someone who invites us to dinner, and I'm like, hey, this is a really good opportunity for us to lead this couple or to just enjoy someone else's company or whatever. Like anytime the Bickers ask us out, we're like, no.
Understandable.
Oh my gosh.
I'm kidding. But I think we have to talk about that. And there are times where it's like we have to process together, this is best for us.
And that goes back, because I know your work schedule at times has that. And so there's, right, where you're just like, this stretch of days is my on time.
Oh, it's like the next 2 days. What, tomorrow you've got an event?
I'll talk because he's
I'm
a
good
good
at talking.
I'm working on this.
So
I'm working so hard at this.
Yeah, so every May, which I'm right in the middle of it right now, it's chaotic. So we kind of have a conversation a couple months ahead of time to just say, okay, I am completely overwhelmed. I'm trying to keep it cool on the outside, but I'm crazy on the inside. And so he is really good with being patient with me and being flexible around this time period. And then he has times around the holidays where it's a little chaotic for him, and so I try to be flexible and calm during those times. So
Well, I also added another wrinkle in it this year though, because I'm going to Peru for a week in the middle of
perfect. Why not?
crazy time.
Yay!
But thanks to awesome people in our life like you guys that are helping with our rhythm, you know. So,
but if you wait for that week to happen when you're in Peru, and you just get there and arrive and let it like all of a sudden, that's a recipe for disaster. I think we've experienced something similar where we've even sat across from. This is probably the difference of us to you guys is we've sat across with our laptops and sent each other calendar appointments.
we just started doing that.
Did you?
Well, she did it to me.
I did it.
I didn't do anything with her, but she sent me stuff.
It feels a little weird to be feeling like I have to schedule so much, but in all honesty, like I'm gonna forget. There's so many moving pieces and moving targets. I'm like I can't keep track.
Yeah.
But I like what you guys were saying because we actually just had the example of, you know, how we have to talk about these things, and it's gone so far as our kids are starting to notice this, and we're bringing our kids into the conversation. Like our middle child, Garrett, just got a party invitation, and the mom of this birthday kid is very persistent, and I had delayed RSVPing because that's what I do.
Is this Andrew?
Yeah,
we
we'll
haven't
just throw them
said
out
a
there.
thing
I
about
did.
that.
I got the text.
Oh, cool, good job.
Because did you get a text? I got a text.
I got a text.
Yes.
Personal text.
So that's when I know I'm like, I have to figure this out now.
Yeah.
So instead of just responding a yes or a no, which is what I wanted to do, it's like, no, we can't do this. I actually brought Garrett into the loop. So at breakfast one day going, hey, let's talk through this. You have this thing, but we also have this one family day. So not to like kind of pull the heartstrings a little bit, but it was a reality moment going, okay, Garrett, you have a choice now to make too. Because we're all making choices on a daily basis to put our priorities somewhere. And so as a 6-year-old, that's a big ask, but what are you going to pick?
Yeah. But it was really cool to watch and Jackson was sitting there listening, our oldest who's 9, and to watch them kind of process like, oh, there is a choice to be made. When we have a free morning, there's a choice. And as they're getting older, the participation is really, really, really cool. That kind of leads me to my next thing, and that is how do you prioritize when you do have family time? Because there's kind of a balance of two things, right? I'm sure, and this is what we feel. There's like the stuff I need, like I'd like to go work out. I'd like to go ride my mountain bike. I'd like to do these things that fill me. But I also know that there's needs that my family has. And so like Saturday morning, I could choose to use that time. How do you as a couple figure out when you get time to fill your tank versus what the family needs in those free non-work chunks? How do you approach that? Just communication again?
We just don't at all approach it.
Well, because I see you guys like you work out regularly. Like you've figured out how to carve out that time.
I'm in my.
I don't think they can see you.
You're in your workout. Like you.
I don't think I could do
Workout
that with my
clothes.
list.
That's right. No.
But you've made prior decisions to push through those things that you need to do. How?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think. Thank you, honey. I think one of the things I've learned is I'm an anxious person, and I have to exercise to release some of the anxiety that I have all the time, and so I think self-care has to happen first in order to care for others, and so that's the one thing where I need this in order to kind of maintain my rhythm. And then I know and then we try to schedule it. But yeah, I've been.
That can't be overstated though, like, because our society would say the exact opposite. Yeah. Like give until everybody has what they need, and then figure it out for you. Yeah. Even if it's not like overtly said, I think it's just you just pick that up from everything.
Well, and I think personality type too. Like I will open, and you guys all know this. I am not good with self-care. Like that's probably the low thing on the totem pole for me. And so it's something that I continually have to learn. I know you have to call me out on it sometimes because when my anxiety level gets up there, it's sometimes not even something I notice right away. But I know my kids feel it. Then the guilt for me comes afterwards when I do blow up at them or you. Yeah. So I So for me, I think, and I'm hoping I'm not the only one in that's something that we have to continue to get better at. And I don't have a good answer for that one. Like I'm even still learning what it is that fills me up because I think that's the bigger question. I love that you found it. I'm going, is that it for me? I don't know. What do you do? What do you do?
Well, I think that's part of us scheduling and communicating and everything. Like I go to the gym some mornings before either of them wake up, just so that I can get back in time so that she can go to the gym after. Oh no, it's terrible. Yeah, like when that alarm goes off at 5:30, I'm like, this is stupid.
This is stupid.
And I'm just thankful.
You don't get up and send him out the door and cheer him on.
I just appreciate
I
that he does
snooze
that.
like crazy. I don't get to the gym till like 6:30, even though my alarm goes off at 5:30. But no, it's we've figured that out, and for both of us, if we don't, that's one of the things that we need. You talk about self-care. If we don't go to the gym and get time to work out and get some of that, the whatever anger or whatever out, like man, we are miserable those weeks when we don't have that. Like there's even some weeks where I have scheduled weeks off from working out, and she's just like, "You're a grump."
Well, you're probably not your best at work. You're probably not your best at home. You're not your best for Jericho or for your wife. Or like it. I love the idea that if you don't be intentional with setting yourself up well, what do you expect to happen if you're not carving that out?
Yeah, and it's 5 hours a week. That's all.
That's a good perspective.
So I
think
it's
a really good perspective.
I think 5 hours a week is fine.
Yeah.
To care for yourself.
And if you can't find 5 hours, like, because that to me, I'm like, I know we're on this like trying to just what is that rhythm of working out, and it's like, yeah, it's 5 hours, but it's also 5 hours, and I gotta find that like so it takes.
Well, I think the same thing is true for quiet time or reading or if you're listening to a book or whatever. Yeah. Like I schedule 30 minutes during my workday, which I don't know, not everyone has the capacity to do this, but I schedule 30 minutes during my workday just for me to like, if I'm not developing, none of this is good. But I think there's sacrifices within that too, because I'm saying no to certain things in order to say yes to that. Same thing with like working out. The reason I go before everyone wakes up is because the only person that affects is me. Unless I'm not getting sleep, or then it affects everybody. But I think that's what I have to. There's some certain sacrifices you have to make. Yeah. And I could be sleeping. It means I'm not going to go out late with my friends the night before, which is fine because that's a good thing for me to say no to when I have a child at home and a wife who wants to actually see me and you know.
I think I forget, maybe you'll know who it was. Someone I either read or heard someone speak and said like, show me your calendar and I'll tell you what's important to you. And
I think it was Carrie Newhoff said that.
Carrie Newhoff?
Yeah.
And I think that's really what we discovered. Like whether it comes to our balance or lack thereof, or what we're leaning into right now, the rhythm, or prioritizing things for ourselves, like you have to get ahead of it enough where you're blocking out time to say, I'm going to happen to my calendar before my calendar happens to me.
Well, we've had to extend that. We talked about it a little bit already, but factoring in family time. Like I wish there are many days where I wish like, oh yeah, I can just bring the kids home from school and get homework done before 4 p.m. And then dinner can happen so much earlier instead of 6:30 at night and scrambling in tears and all that. But
Who's crying, you or the kids?
It depends on the day.
I started. But the idea, like with our current season of life, we don't have a full family day off.
Yeah.
Like there's someone's always working or school, and we don't have that day. So we have to go, okay, knowing that, when are our moments? And so we on our calendar go from 9 to noon on Saturdays.
Right.
That's a family slot.
That's our time.
And we've made the choice for this season going, nothing can take over.
Yeah,
like even extended family, which we're blessed to have living right by, or friends or anything, like that's that no, but we're choosing to say for the yes of our family. And it's not easy though.
I think what the other interesting thing that comes up too is you talk about scheduling. When one of the things that we've done, like Amanda does a great job of this, she'll do like laundry and I'll do dishes after Jericho goes to bed so that we don't have that time. Like we're using those hours of where Jericho's like with us to actually spend time with him. Unless the Cubs are on, and we're working through that right now. Some tension in our household, but you know they're playing great baseball. So, but I think that even that stuff, like, because there's moments that you have energy, and I would recommend to not use your energy moments on chores, right? Because you can zombie your way through that stuff, but don't zombie your way through. Right. There's always going to be laundry. There's always going to be dishes. There's always going to be a house to clean, but don't use don't zombie through your time with your kids or your time with each other. Be intentional about the time where you have energy to use that energy with your kids. Even if there's times where I'm gassed when I come home from work. She's gassed, and we'll just like, hey, I need space. You need space. Jericho, get away from us. In the most loving way, and but then like we will eat dinner together and make sure we have time with one another, and then but we're not using our low energy times on time with Jericho. So
well, one thing that you guys have done in the past that we've always just looked up to is your consistent date nights. That I know you had in the past. I don't even know if you have it right now, but that model of it was something that we're like, dude, that's awesome. Like
you had to fight for that though, and
we had to fight for that, and then with some season of life changes, with our babysitter went to school, so we lost that like consistent every Saturday night. But now Jericho goes to you talk about extended family being close by. He goes to his in-laws every Tuesday.
Grandparents.
He doesn't have in-laws yet. They're my in-laws, and. So he goes over there and spends the night, and so Tuesday night we have a night, which is a super weird night to have a date night. But Livermore Cinema is $5 movies.
Yeah,
boom,
movies.
We saw Endgame for $5 a piece.
Yeah,
pretty
it was
awesome.
Amazing.
I won't spoil it for anyone.
That's good.
Hopefully you've seen it by the time you see this.
Well, guys, there's a ton we could talk about of this, and we could continue to talk. We're learning. We're on this path. Like we've not figured it out. But as we wrap up, if there's someone watching who just goes, "That's good for you. I'm drowning."
Right.
One or two things, like start this conversation or focus here first. What would you say?
I think one thing that comes to mind. Thank you, honey.
Welcome.
That I actually appreciate, especially being an introvert, is you kind of have to build relationships, like our wonderful relationship with you guys. So it's kind of forcing me a little bit out of my comfort zone, but then it's establishing something that's really beneficial for our family. Is you're kind of building a community, and so I think that has been incredible to build this really, this family that's outside of just blood relatives.
Yes.
And so that's kind of, that helps with the whole drowning. It's a little, I can breathe a little bit.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I do appreciate.
So first step is find a couple people to do life with.
Yeah.
That
I mean, you always call this like the wider circle.
Yeah,
and
wider circle.
else.
Yeah,
that's huge for us, and I think it
absolutely
benefits you guys too that we get to invest in Jackson and Kennedy and Garrett. And that was a weird order to say your
kids'
was,
name. That's Jackson, good. You got them all.
Garrett,
that's good.
Kennedy.
I liked it. It's good.
But you're right. Like that wider circle is really important in having having that input, having those people who even just a phone call or a text message to go, oh, today kind of sucked.
Yeah.
Super helpful.
Well,
I never send those. What are you talking about?
And then it also helps. Like I know there's times where we get time just us because you guys have Jericho, and we've taken. I don't know how you guys live your life. Because we took all three. We took all three of your kids when I gave you a chance. You should have taken more advantage of it than you did. Stayed out longer.
It was kind of short. Next time.
Next time. There won't be a next time.
They're saying no. They're busy. They're busy.
No worries.
But I think that just to go off of that, I think Carrie Newhoff. So first of all, I'm super hesitant to say do this because
absolutely
it's. I know that your schedule is different than my schedule, and I have freedoms that I can implement into my schedule that you don't necessarily have, or even she doesn't have. Mm-hmm. So, but I will say this: Carrie Newhoff talked about your multipliers and the thing that you should spend your money on, or your not your money, your time. For some reason, I have money on my brain right now. Do we get paid for this?
I don't know.
Oh, no. What you should spend your time on, and he talked about spend your time on the things that are multipliers for you. Like when you do them, they create results that you wouldn't be able to create unless you had focused time and energy on those things. And I think that's true for family and everything else. So it's taking like a very intentional look at the 3 to 5 things that you have to do, because when you do them, probably no one else can do them as well as you. B, the results that come from that way outweigh the other things that you might spend time on. So some of those really good things you have to say no to. And I mean, I've always had the motto in work and family: say no to the good to say yes to the best. And I think John Orberg said that, or someone. But man, when you give yourself permission to say no to good things so that you can say yes to best things, the outcome far outweighs the difficulty of saying no to those good things. So I don't know what that looks like for everyone, but
probably different for everybody.
It has to. But I think just beginning that conversation and processing through that and working that out, it would serve you well to do that.
Cool. Well, guys, thank you. Thanks for your friendship. Thanks for hanging out and talking and doing life together. And
it's really cool to be on this Perfect Parents episode.
That's what it is.
We're so
Perfect.
Everyone. Yes.
Did you guys not even high five there?
No, them?
Yeah,
we did a
they
half.
did.
It was a
half.
I
I also
know.
have like a sweaty.
Now I know why it's called Imperfect
Sweaty
Parents,
hands,
because of these two.
See you later, everybody. Thanks.
That was good. That was really. Being a working mom myself, it's great to know, like, oh, I'm not the only one that feels like I'm failing at this on a daily basis. And it is a challenge to be a parent in general, and then throw on work on top of that, and the dynamics of having both parents working.
Yes.
Ryan, do you have any resources for parents?
Yeah, there's 2 books that I would highly recommend that you pick up. Go to Amazon, pick these up. The first one is called Choosing to Cheat. It's by Andy Stanley, and it really talks about the place where work and family collide, and how do you pick something to cheat? Because the reality is, you have to build a rhythm that chooses something to cheat, and how do you do that well? And the other book is by Patrick Lencioni, and it's a book called 3 Big Questions for a Frantic Family. My wife and I have read this. We highlighted it a lot. We actually put into place some of the things that it talks about. Really, really a good book for those of you that maybe are trying to juggle all this craziness that we call working and being a parent, and it's just hard. So check that out.
And if you feel like you want a little more than just reading a book, like here at Cornerstone, we have community groups, and I know from my husband and I, like our community group with other families and other parents that are going through a similar stage of life that we're in, many of which both parents are working, and then even sometimes having the perspective of other parents who are a little bit further down the road than you.
Yes.
So if you're interested in trying to join in some community that we offer here at Cornerstone, we'd love to chat more about that with you guys.
Yeah. So we'll put all those links down in the bottom of the YouTube video. Check that out. Click on those. And then as always, click subscribe so you don't miss the next video that we shoot. We're having really good conversations. We're having a lot of fun doing this as we unpack what it looks like to be an imperfect parent, because our world tells us that we have to be perfect, but we don't think that's true.
We're definitely
not. So thanks for watching. Take care.